Making headlines tonight. The permanent mission of Cambodia to United Nations has called on them to establish a special monitoring mechanism to ensure the effective implementation of the Special Rapporteur's Code of Conduct. The Ministry of Education and UNICEF Cambodia has released a National Learning Assessment report alarming findings on the learning lost by Cambodian students due to the school closures caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Tensions between Russia and Ukraine have intensified after hundreds of murdered civilians were allegedly found following the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine Bucha. Cuba has announced that its top fighters will join the professional boxing circuit after former leader Fidel Castro banned the sports for pay following his leftist 1959 revolution. And legend Midtown hosted the biggest premiere for the award-winning film White Building last night. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Anthony Ellis. The permanent mission of Kingdom of Cambodia to United Nations in Geneva has called on United Nations to establish a special monitoring mechanism to ensure the effective implementation of the Special Rapporteur's Code of Conduct. In a press release issued by the permanent mission of the Kingdom of Cambodia to the United Nations on the efforts and progress made by Cambodia in the field of human rights, the Cambodian ambassador and a permanent representative to the UN office in Geneva, Sokun An, stated that the UN Human Rights Council should prioritise addressing the escalation of hate speech, misinformation and incitement lurking under the banner of freedom of expression. While supporting efforts to improve the work of the Special Rapporteur, this includes a call for the establishment and oversight mechanism to ensure the offensive implementation of the Special Rapporteur's Code of Conduct. Recently, there has been an increased exchange between the UN Special Rapporteur and the Cambodian representative to the UN at the UN Human Rights Council meeting in Geneva, Switzerland. The 49th session of the UN Human Rights Council was held from 28th of February to the 1st of April 2022. On the 30th of March, Ambassador Sokun An responded to a statement made by the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Cambodia, Vitit Matarabon, asking for proof of his report of human rights and the democracy in Cambodia are in a wondering state of rejection. He also reminded the Special Rapporteur that the human rights agenda is not a sprint, but rather a marathon run with commitment, effort and progress. He emphasized that such decisions on the topic should be conducted on the bias of statistics and efforts and not a perception. The Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and UNICEF of Cambodia have released a technical national learning assessment report which reports alarming findings on the learnings loss experienced by Cambodian students due to the closures of the caused by COVID-19 pandemic. EAC News reporter Deccan Nin has the story.
The Ministry of Education and UNICEF Cambodia published the findings from a Grade 6 National Learning Assessment report on Tuesday, April 5th. The study for the report compares data from the 2016 and 2021 National Learning Assessments conducted by the Ministry of Education. The data for the 2021 National Learning Assessment was collected in November 2021 with the support of UNICEF and other Capacity Development Partnership Fund partners, and the results of the analysis were first released in March 2022. More than 6,000 students across 230 schools in Cambodia were found to have fallen behind in their learning during the pandemic, according to the Ministry of Education Quality Assurance Department. In particular, comparing data from the 2016 National Learning Assessment, the percentage of students who failed to demonstrate basic proficiency in the Khmer language rose from 34 to 45%, and the subject of mathematics showed even worse results, with the failures increasing from 49 to 74%. During the 2020-2021 period, schools were closed for 250 days, which is the equivalent of almost two-thirds of the 2 school years. The report also reveals that although all students experienced learning loss from the school closures, the impact was not evenly distributed. Boys were found to have lost more learning and performed worse in testing compared to girls. The Minister of Education, Youth and Sports, Hong Jun Narong, has noted that these are worrying results. He further stated, "We worked hard with all our parents to put in place remote learning measures for students when schools were closed during the pandemic. The studies have shown that these did help to maintain learning for many, but the learning assessment results confirmed that these activities simply couldn't be enough to compensate for all that is lost by children when they are not learning in a classroom." According to a press release from UNICEF, the Ministry of Education hosted a joint technical working group meeting with all its education partners in response to the grim findings of the report, in order to devise and plan a way forward. It was acknowledged that the ministry had already taken some crucial steps, such as mandating remedial lessons as soon as schools reopened. But the working group agreed that these needed to be expanded and strengthened to help students catch up, with increased targeting at the most disadvantaged students who suffered the greatest learning loss. The full report and summary of findings can be found and read on UNICEF's website. Dekanin, EAC News.
The Cambodian Minister of Commerce, Pan Saw Sak, led a delegation of the Commerce Ministry to meet with the Ambassador of the United Kingdom to ASEAN, John Lam, and the Ambassador of the United Kingdom to Cambodia, Tina Redshaw, on Tuesday afternoon at the Ministry of Commerce in Phnom Penh. During the meeting, Minister Pan Saw Sak extended his thanks to the British government for helping Cambodia during the COVID-19 pandemic. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has further details.
During the meeting, Minister Pan Saw Sak thanked the British government for providing preferential trade to the least developed countries in the world, including Cambodia, which contributed to Cambodia's economic development. He also thanked the British government for providing COVID-19 vaccines to the royal government and people of Cambodia to aid in the fight against COVID-19 and assist in the reopening of economic activities. The minister expressed his strong belief that the new normalization path set by the royal government, combined with recent achievements made in the field of trade, will be a new catalyst for the strengthening of bilateral trade between Cambodia and the United Kingdom. The two sides will continue to expand cooperation to find new opportunities and potential for trade, business, and investment in the future. Regarding Cambodia's ASEAN chairmanship, the minister informed the British delegation of the ASEAN economic ministers' full support for the priority economic deliverables Cambodia has set out under the pillars of the ASEAN economic community. He said that Cambodia welcomes the support of the United Kingdom, an important dialogue partner of ASEAN, to join Cambodia in the implementation of all economic priorities successfully, especially within the framework of the implementation and action plan between ASEAN and dialogue partners, which includes cooperation in areas such as digital commerce, promoting women's entrepreneurship, participating in small and medium enterprises, promoting sustainable agriculture, tourism, hospitality, and other related services. In response, the British ambassador commended Minister Pan Saw Sak for the progress and efforts made by the royal government of Cambodia through the Ministry of Commerce to promote better bilateral trade relations between the two countries, as well as the important role of Cambodia as the chair of ASEAN. She also reaffirmed the support of the United Kingdom to Cambodia in working closely together to achieve the economic priorities that Cambodia has successfully set and to build a sustainable and resilient environment for the ASEAN community. At the end of the meeting, both sides pledged to continue cooperating closely to promote the mutual development of both countries' economic and trade sectors. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The governor of Svay Rieng province expressed his support and cooperation for the ongoing search of the remains of all Vietnamese volunteer soldiers who were killed during the Khmer Rouge, until all found remains were repatriated to Vietnam. EAC News reporter Saipre Kong has more.
On Tuesday, 5 April, Svay Rieng Provincial Governor Man Vy Bol said that the current working group between Svay Rieng and Long An Province are jointly carrying out the task of searching and collecting for the remains of Vietnamese soldiers who died during the war in Svay Rieng Province. This search is currently in its 21st phase during the dry season of 2021-2022. According to the provincial governor, in 2020 and 2021, the 20th phase of the excavation and collection activity was missed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, depending on the improved situation, the working group was able to resume operation through a joint memorandum on 16 February 2022. The government of Cambodia and Vietnam signed an agreement on 28 August 2000 on the mobilization and repatriation of the remains of Vietnamese volunteer soldiers who were killed on Cambodian soil during the Khmer Rouge. This search and collection effort is conducted every year during the dry season. As of 2017, the remains of nearly 4,000 Vietnamese soldiers in Cambodia still need to be retrieved. Sri Pokong, EAC News.
A delegation from Dong Thap Province of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam thanked the Bon Thê Met Tre Province administration for elevating the hardships of the Vietnamese people living in Bon Thê Met Tre Province, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
A delegation from Song Thap province, led by the deputy chairman of the Provincial People's Committee, Sing Min Tuan, met with the acting governor of Banteay Meanchey province, Om Chan Tha, at the Banteay Meanchey Provincial Hall on Tuesday afternoon. The delegation from Vietnam came to directly extend their wishes to the Banteay Meanchey Provincial Administration for the upcoming Khmer New Year, as Song Thap and Banteay Meanchey are partner provinces. During the meeting, Deputy Chairman Sing Min Tuan thanks the Banteay Meanchey provincial leadership for always helping the Vietnamese people who reside in the province, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. He noted that the provincial administration administered vaccines for the Vietnamese population and also facilitated the preparation of burial sites for the Vietnamese people who died of COVID-19 in the province. He said that these points prove that the relationship between the two countries and the two provinces continues to grow stronger. The deputy chairman said, "On behalf of the Vietnamese people, we will continue to work together to strengthen this partnership." Acting Provincial Governor Om Chan Tha also said that Cambodia and Vietnam are good partners who have been cooperating with each other for a long time and have always helped each other. He recalled the history of the struggle against colonialism until the two countries were able to gain their own independence and help each other to unite territory and also liberate Cambodia from genocide. He said, "During the war, Cambodia helped Vietnam unify their territory, while Vietnam helped liberate the Cambodian people from the Khmer Rouge genocidal regime led by Pol Pot. Every Cambodian remembers the merits of the Vietnamese volunteer army who sacrificed their lives for the cause of establishing peace and freedom for the Cambodian people." It should be noted that the Vietnamese province of Song Thap is an important cooperation partner to Banteay Meanchey province. The two provinces formally formed a sisterhood through the signing of a first Memorandum of Understanding in 2011 and a second in 2016. The signing of the latest MOU of 2021 was interrupted by the COVID-19 crisis. Through this visit, Banteay Meanchey provincial leaders hope that the two sides will maintain good relations and continue good cooperation with one another, and have requested for there to be further discussions and preparations for the new MOU to submit to leaders from both sides for review and to finally proceed with the official signing at a convenient time in the near future. Dekanin, EAC News.
Experts from the Apsara National Authority's Department of Movement Conservation and Preventive Archaeology have begun a process of restoring the Ta Ong Bridge, which is an ancient bridge built in the Angkorian period. The restoration period is expected to last from April to August 2022 using the funds from the Apsara Authority itself. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has more.
The main objectives of the restoration are to rehabilitate the ancient bridge's foundation, to strengthen its structure, as well as to facilitate the flow of water to prevent flooding. Such restoration will allow for the smooth travel of people in the future and will also attract more tourists to visit the site. The official in charge of restoring this bridge, Put Sot, said that in the south side of the Ta Ong Bridge, there is a lot of deterioration, such as falling stones in two spots and a cracked bridge wall. He further stated that the restoration process his team is engaged in involves making a list of stone registration plans, restoring the stones, strengthening bridge pillars that have collapsed, and restoring the cracked wall on the east side. The Naga balustrade at a total length of 70 meters will also be restored during this process. Sot added that the main factors causing the deterioration of the Ta Ong Bridge were age, natural factors, and pressure from the weight of people walking over it. The bridge was built in the Angkorian period from laterite and is decorated with a sandstone carving of a meditating Buddha sitting at the center of a 9-headed Naga in the Bayon style. In 2020, experts from the Apsara National Authority conducted the first phase of the Ta Ong Bridge restoration on the north side of the bridge, which included the restoration of the Naga balustrade, the reinforcement of 18 pillar walls, and the excavation of the waterway flowing through. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Cambodia has reported 22 new COVID-19 cases, none of which are imported. There have been 121 patient recoveries and no new deaths. The Kingdom has now recorded 15,393 cases of Omicron, 1,353 imported and 14,040 community cases. Cambodia's COVID-19 case tally has now climbed up to 135,834. The death toll stands at 3,055. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 132,449, and the tally of imported cases has climbed up to 21,210. Healthcare workers are currently treated a total of 254 patients. Now for the look at the news making international headlines Wednesday the 6th of April.
Russia is getting more heat after the atrocities of recent reports on civilian killings, torture, and rape in Bacha came to light. Russia vehemently denied the allegations, but the international community is now in an uproar. The U.S. Ambassador to the United States, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said that no one can be a shield for Russia's aggression toward Ukraine. She pushed for a vote to suspend Russia from the Geneva-based UN Human Rights Council. The vote will likely be in on 7th of April, and a two-thirds majority is needed. In the meantime, Britain urged G7 and NATO nations to ban Russian ships from their ports and agree on a timetable to phase out oil and gas imports from Russia. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said that the existing sanctions had frozen $350 billion of Russian money and made over 60% of its foreign currency reserves unavailable. These coordinated sanctions are pushing the Russian economy back to the Soviet era.
International Journalist Protection NGO Article 19 said on Tuesday the 5th of April that the government of the Mexican president Andrés Manuel López Obrador has been deadly for journalists. During this term, the current government has accumulated 33 murdered journalists. In spite of the authorities' denial, this is the most violent period against the press we've registered, said Article 19, according to Article 19, an organisation that promotes freedom of expression. Under the last two Mexican presidents, Enrique Peña Nieto and Felipe Calderón, 19 and 26 journalists were murdered respectively. So far, in 2022, the organisation has documented the murders of 8 journalists in the country.
At a Hong Kong public hospital mortuary, funeral director Hattis Chung claimed the body of a COVID-19 victim on behalf of his family who live in mainland China. The family could not arrive in time due to quarantine measures. Chance, accompanied by his colleagues in full protective gear, opened the coffin and spread pepper money on the body as part of a traditional ritual before sending it to a cremation site. I feel heartbroken. Chan, 31, who has been working round the clock to help bereaved families. As the global financial hub battled a surge in COVID-19 death that is overwhelming its funeral parlors. Since the 5th wave of coronavirus hit the former British colony this year, it has reported more than 1 million infections and nearly 8,000 deaths. Scenes of bodies stacked in emergency room next to patients have shocked many as places in mortuary runs out. I've never seen so many bodies that they have been piled up together, said another funeral director Long Chung, 37, who has been organizing about 40 funerals in March, up from roughly 15 in an average month. I've never seen the family members been so upset, so disappointed, he said. The surge in COVID-19 death has resulted in a long wait for documents including death certificates to be processed, according to Chung. Traditional wood coffins are running short. Also in demand are the traditional paper replica of items, from cars to home and other personal effects, were not offering at Chinese funeral for use in the afterlife. Much of the delay is blamed on a logjam in transport from the neighboring southern Chinese city of Shenzhen, which supplies many of the items but is now fighting its own outbreak of COVID-19. China supplies more than 95% of the 250 to 300 coffins Hong Kong needs each day, authorities said. It received more than 3,517 coffins during the period from March 14 to 26, after the government of the Chinese ruled coordinated with the mainland authorities. The Sikh crematorium now run almost around the clock to get through nearly 300 cremations a day, or double the usual figure, and public mortuaries have been expanded to accommodate 4,600 bodies from 1,350 earlier, authorities said. Non-government body Forget the Knot has partnered with an eco-friendly coffin maker Life Art Asia to donate 300 such coffins and 1,000 boxes of preservative to 6 public hospitals. Each coffin is made of a cardboard with recycled wood fiber and can take a weight up to 200 kilograms. Placed in coffin or body bags, the powder-like preservative turns to gas to keep the body in its natural state for up to 5 days. We are in the eye of the storm, said Life Art Asia Chief Executive Wilson Tong, and in the midst of this storm, we are trying to provide a moment of respite.
Police investigating a mass shooting in Sacramento, California over the weekend took a third man into custody on Tuesday, the 5th of April, but said he was not accused of taking part of the massacre.
In the course of investigating the multiple homicides of April 3, 2022, detectives identified a man who was seen carrying a gun in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, the Sacramento Police Department said in a statement. Detectives recovered a handgun and arrested 31-year-old Davion Dawson late Monday on charges of being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. Police said Dawson is not charged with crimes directly related to the shootings.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, we've had less than 3 days. We've served 3 residential search warrants. We've made 3 arrests, and we've seized 3 firearms. So we're well into the investigation, but we're far from finished. And like I said, our focus right now is finding every single fact available to us, locating every piece of evidence, and then gleaning whatever information we can from that evidence to determine exactly what happened and get justice for these victims. Yeah, so during the course of the investigation, investigators identified a male subject at the scene of the crime who was in possession of a firearm. That subject was identified as Davion Dawson, and he was contacted. During the course of that portion of the investigation, Mr. Dawson's firearm was recovered, which he's prohibited from possessing, and Mr. Dawson was arrested for the charges related to that. I think anytime we have an event like this, it obviously shocks the consciousness of the community, but our officers remain committed to providing the highest standard of service and security for our community, and nothing's changing with that. So I would encourage the community, anybody with information, videos, photos, to submit them through our community evidence portal. We can provide that link and that QR code. Like I said, our officers remain committed to the security of our community, and we'll continue to make sure they're protected and served. No, we just want to, again, express extreme gratitude to the community. Like I said, we've had over 170 submissions to our community evidence portal. It's kind of the first large-scale launch of that initiative that we've had, and we've had overwhelming support and success with it so far. So just a expression of gratitude to our community, and just to know that anything you think, however innocuous, may be very vital in helping solve this thing, and we appreciate all the cooperation we've had so far. Cool.
Tensions between Russia and Ukraine have intensified after hundreds of murdered civilians were allegedly found following the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine's Bucha. Russian military forces on Monday night destroyed a training base of the Ukrainian Special Forces in Ochakov using a high-precision sea-based missile. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Tuesday the center is also used as a camp for foreign mercenaries in Ukraine. Russian forces also destroyed 4 fuel depots serving the Ukrainian army with the air-based missiles, according to the ministry. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday visited the town of Bucha outside Kyiv, where hundreds of murdered civilians were allegedly found after the Russian forces withdrew, the Ukrinform news agent said. At least 280 people, including children, were found dead in Bucha, some 28 kilometers northwest of Kyiv, after the Ukrainian army retook control of the town from the Russian military. Zelensky earlier called the killings of civilians in Bucha a war crime. The Russian Defense Ministry on Sunday referred to Kyiv's accusation on alleged killings of civilians in the settlement of Bucha. Russia will present empirical evidence to the United Nations Secretary Council that forces have not been killing civilians in Ukraine and were not involved in events in Bucha. Valery Nebenzia, Russia's envoy to the UN, said at the press conference on Monday. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine are continuing their intensive talks via video link after the latest face-to-face negotiations concluded in Turkey, Istanbul last week. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Monday that the possibility of success of Russia-Ukraine talks always exists. He hopes Kyiv will follow in national interest of Russia-Ukraine peace talks, but not listen to advisers from afar. Zelensky said Monday that he thinks the negotiations with Russia is becoming increasingly difficult given the killing of civilians in Bucha. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday called for an independent investigation into the killings of the hundreds of civilians in Bucha. I'm deeply shocked by the images of civilians killed in Bucha, Ukraine, Guterres wrote on his official Twitter account. It is essential that an independent investigation leads to effectively accountability. European countries continue to pressure on Russia by expelling Russian diplomats on Monday and Tuesday. Germany on Monday announced 40 officials of the Russian embassy were declared undesirable and they need to leave Germany within 5 days. Italy announced on Tuesday that the country has expelled 30 Russian diplomats on the national security grounds. Danish Foreign Minister Jeppe Kofod announced that the expulsion of 15 Russian diplomat staff members during a foreign policy board meeting on Tuesday accusing them as intelligence officers for espionage. France's Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs said on Monday that the country has decided to expel 35 Russian diplomats. Russia will respond proportionally to some Western countries' expulsions of Russian diplomats. Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, said Monday. The expulsion of Russian diplomats from several European countries is a pre-agreed campaign that strikes at bilateral relations, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Krashko said on Tuesday. Obviously, this campaign is pre-agreed. A blow in the beginning dealt with bilateral relations through the channels of diplomat communication, and the Deputy Minister was quoted as saying by TASS. So far, around 20 countries are in a diplomatic rift with Russia, and Russian Foreign Minister spokesman Maria Zakharova said Russia will give appropriate response. The United Kingdom on Monday called on its allies to impose together sanctions against Russia following the alleged killings of civilians in Bacha. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Tuesday announced the EU is proposing a fifth package on sanctions against Russia or Ukraine. The sanctions include an imported ban on coal from Russia worth €4 billion per year, a full transition ban on 4 key Russian banks, among the VTB, the second largest Russian bank. Still, the EU will ban Russian and Russian-operated vessels from accessing EU ports and the Russian and Belarusian road transport operators, as well as import further export bans on crucial areas like advanced semiconductors, machinery and transport, The EU is also seeking specific new import bans worth €5.5 billion and other targeted measures against Russia, von der Leyen said. A day earlier, French President Emmanuel Macron had called for progress in further moves towards sanctions on the European Union level, which he said could target the oil and coal industries.
Deuxièmement, il est clair qu'il y a des indices aujourd'hui.
Peruvian President Pedro Castillo on Thursday the 5th of April afternoon lifted a curfew ordering following widespread defiance on the streets, as protesters spiraled against the rising fuel and fertilizer prices triggered by the Ukraine conflict.
We are going to cancel the curfew order, Castillo said in the meeting with Congress. Castillo issued a sudden curfew mandate minutes before midnight on Monday, ordering Lima residents to stay at home between 2 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. in an attempt to curb nationwide protests over surging prices. But the curfew triggered a fresh crisis for Castillo's administration, with thousands of people taking to the street to defy the curfew. He cut the curfew short just after 5 p.m. local time. The new protests on Tuesday added to a broader crisis that started a week ago in Peru over mounting inflation, which rattled Castillo just days after he survived an impeachment trial. Western sanctions on Russia have cut supply of oil and fertilizers, hurting fragile emerging economies like Peru. Like many countries, Peru was battling high inflation before the war started, but the conflict has accelerated a surge in the price of food, fuel, and other essential items. Peru's March inflation at 1.48% was the highest in 26 years. Castillo rose to power last year with overwhelming support from Peru's rural population, but rising prices have led the same group to stage the most significant protests so far in his administration. Castillo's popularity has worn quickly and now hovers at around 25%. He has survived 2 impeachment attempts and cycled through an unprecedented number of cabinet members in his H1 administration. The lockdown order stunned many Limanos, as residents of the capital unknown, who took to the streets to defy what they saw as a violation of their civil liberties. The government has repeatedly said without providing evidence that the curfew was necessary to avoid lootings.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Cuba announced this week that its top fighters will join the professional boxing circuit following decades of shying away from the sport after former leader Fidel Castro banned sports for pay following his leftist 1959 revolution.
The Domadores de Cuba team will participate this year in several professional leagues after signing a contract with the Mexican company Golden Ring Promotions, state television reported on Monday, April 4th. The president of the Cuban Boxing Federation, Alberto Puig, said that several Cuban boxers will debut in a professional program in Mexico in May. Puig said 4 Cubans had already signed their contracts for 3 years. During the first stage, a team of 5 to 6 boxers would participate. Cuban sports officials said boxers would receive 80% of the compensation for winning fights, while 15% will go to trainers and 5% to their medical staff. In a gym in Old Havana, boxers drenched in sweat celebrated the news while throwing punches. I think the migration of Cuban boxers is stopped with the Cuban team, trainer Alberto Gonzalez told Reuters on Tuesday, April 5th. The country's economic situation is dire and it is a way to help the boxers' families financially, he said. The Domadores de Cuba team had competed since 2014 in the World Series of Boxing, a semi-professional tournament where athletes box without head protectors. Cuba won 3 of the 5 events in which it participated until 2018. Cuba has won 41 gold medals in amateur boxing at the Olympic Games since 1972, although several of its top-tier boxers have defected in recent years to participate in professional events in the United States.
The Lusail Stadium, the host of the venue Men's Football World Cup final, has been purposely built for the 2022 tournament. With a capacity of 80,000, it will host 6 group matches before being one of the chosen stadiums for each knockout round, culminating in the final itself. The stadium's bowl shape as an intricate design is a nod of a decorative motifs found on bowls across the Arab world. The World Cup draws takes place in Doha Exhibition and Conference Centre later Friday, 1st of April, where the 29 qualified teams and 3 more will qualify later this year will learn which groups they are in, all with the hope of reaching the final and gracing the turf of the flagship venue of the 2022 World Cup. Real Madrid goalkeeper Cordia said he is tired of what he considers unfair criticism aimed at the club.
Real comfortably led the Spanish league and reached the Champions League quarterfinals with an epic come-from-behind 3-1 second-leg win against Paris Saint-Germain. It always happens at Real Madrid. Even if we come from a run of 10 wins and we lose one or draw another, there is already criticism and people doubt, Courtois told a news conference on Tuesday as his team prepared to face last season's Champions League winners, Chelsea, in the first leg of their quarterfinal clash on Wednesday. We have full confidence in our team capacity, and we are looking forward to show what we are worth against Chelsea. Courtois was Real's only representative to speak with the media after coach Carlo Ancelotti did not make the trip to London as he recovers from a positive COVID-19 diagnosis. His son and assistant head coach David Ancelotti will be on the sidelines calling the shots at Stamford Bridge. We know very well how Ancelotti wants us to train. There is a great coaching staff. He has participated in talks by video call, Courtois said. Sure, there is a difference if he is on the bench or not, but last weekend the coaching staff did well, so I don't think it will be a problem in London. Courtois was Chelsea's first-choice goalkeeper for 4 seasons before joining Real Madrid in 2018. He said he has sympathy for his former side's fans and players after the club was put up for sale by owner Roman Abramovich, who has been sanctioned by the British government following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This club gave me the opportunity to grow for many years, on loan at Atletico Madrid and playing here. I'm always happy to come back. I hope the new owners understand the club they are buying.
Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. And finally, Legend Midtown hosted the biggest premiere on Tuesday night, the 6th of April, for the award-winning film White Building by Coverage Ning, starring Piseth Chun, who won the Rozzoni Award for the Best Actor in Venice, Italy last September 2021.
សូមឲ្យដួងព្រលឹងនិងវត្ថុស័ក្តិសិទ្ធិទាំងអស់ដែលបានតាមថែរក្សាកូនចៅគ្រប់ទីកន្លែងគ្រប់ពេលសូមឲ្យកូនចៅជួបតែសំណាងល្អនិងជៀសផុតពីគ្រោះថ្នាក់ចង្រៃ
The premiere was attended by key people from the music, art, and film industries, as well as the U.S. Ambassador to Cambodia, Patrick Murphy, and the French Ambassador to Cambodia, Jacques Paulet. The Legend Cinema's marketing manager, Nicolas Devenet, said that he is happy to support Khmer films. Legend devoted all halls at Midtown to the film's premiere, along with performances by Clap Your Hands artists and a Q&A session with the cast and crew. He said that he is proud to see a Khmer film made by a Khmer team doing so well on the international stage. He said he has seen the film twice and loved it both times, and he hopes Khmer audiences give a chance to this one-of-a-kind movie. White Building is Kavik Niang's first feature film. He started this project in 2016 and took 5 years to complete it. He said that he wanted to create a souvenir of the White Building landmark before it was torn down. He explained that it was a challenge to work with up-and-coming actors at first because they were not used to working in front of cameras. But he said he is happy and proud of the work they have all done, as well as the fact that the film got international recognition.
International festivals do not really know or haven't really heard about Cambodia. So for me, I'm super stoked about getting recognitions. I never got formal film training with standards. The films was made with my friends and our passion. So when we got selected for Venice, which is one of the biggest film festivals in the world, I was very proud and excited for the international community to see the film in Cambodia.
A big fan of Kavik is one of the film's producers, Brendan Hashimoto, who saw Kavik's talent and potential through his short films and was motivated to help him create his first feature-length film.
Or this person has to make a feature, I'm going to do whatever I can to support that because that needs to happen. You can just see the way he produces the film and directs them. There's just something, a way that he pulls out both performances from the actors and the way he decides to pace and edit the films to really draw very interesting emotion and thoughts that to make people think about these and empathize with the characters in his films.
White Building is playing at all cinemas in Cambodia starting 7th of April 2022. Nekanin EAC News.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our websites eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV or at your favourite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.